calm mind brings inner strength and self-confidence. So that's very important for good health. That is a quote by the Dalai Lama.
Welcome to Trina Talk. Trina Talk is a weekly podcast that will inspire and empower women of all ages to strive for the impossible. Your host, Trina L. Martin from TrinaMartin.com, is a motivational speaker, leader, and cyber tech expert. Every week, Trina will share wisdom gained from her life experiences and lessons learned while pursuing her goals to inspire you to achieve the next level in your life. Now, your host, Trina L. Martin.
Hello, welcome to Trina Talk. I am your host, Trina L. Martin, and this is episode 25. The topic this week is your mental health is the key to how you operate in life. My guest this week is Dr. Roseann Capanna-Hodge. Dr. Roseann is the founder and director of Dr. Roseann and Associates and the originator of the 360-degree Reboot Intensive Therapies Program. Her center is known for offering expert-level integrative mental health support, and she has more than 25 years working with children, teens, adults, and parents. She answered her calling to become a psychologist and currently has integrative centers in Ridgefield and Newtown, Connecticut, where the focus is on providing clinically valid holistic therapies such as neurofeedback, biofeedback, counseling, and assessment for a variety of issues and conditions. Dr. Roseann is a Connecticut certified school psychologist and a licensed professional counselor, along with a host of many other board certifications. Please sit back and tune in to what Dr. Roseann has to say. Well, hello, Roseann. Welcome to Trina Talk.
Hi, Trina. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thank you for being with me. I see now you're a doctor, you're a psychologist and a neurofeedback doctor. Can you tell me what a neurofeedback doctor is?
Sure. So I'm a neurofeedback provider, and what neurofeedback is. It is a evidence-based form of therapy that supports healthy brainwave functioning. And people may have heard the word neurofeedback and they're not sure what it is. And people use it all over the world. I know, Trina, you're in Houston, and there's providers out in Houston because I've met some of them. And what neurofeedback does is if somebody has a dysregulation in their brainwave functioning, so somebody who has ADHD or anxiety, anything where there's a disruption in the central nervous system. So I always think A to Z, right? What happens is through the use of computers, we learn to reinforce certain brainwaves, healthy brainwaves, and it's a process of measurement and reinforcement, and that's what the computers do, and it provides reinforcement typically through the watching of movies that also provide different types of reinforcement, like dinging and different things that stimulate electrical activity in the brain and get it to perform in a healthy rhythm, which reduces symptoms like anxiety, depression, whatever is unique to each person. But what I do is holistic therapies. That's one of the holistic therapies that I use that I love.
Okay, so you use that, let's say if I suffered from anxiety, would you use that method instead of prescribing me medication?
So I am a psychologist and I don't prescribe medication. I also don't really believe in psychiatric medication, and I think that medication is very, very overused and should probably only be used probably less than 5% of the time that it's currently used. And that's a whole other topic of conversation. But, in our American health system, which is different from other countries, particularly Europe, we reach for medication first, often sometimes before we do psychotherapy and other more holistic and evidence-based treatments. So I use neurofeedback, biofeedback, PMF, other brain-based therapies instead of medication. Absolutely. it's as effective, if not more effective, and doesn't produce any of the side effects that medications produce.
I like that. I like not, going into the medication, because I agree with you. I think we are just over medicated as a society. And I think that's one of the reasons why we have the problem that we have with people getting addicted to different forms of prescription drugs.
Yeah, very true.
So we were talking before we started interviewing. You have your own practice and it's made up of all women. Tell me about that and some of your challenges and your success to build your practice, and how did you end up with all women? Was that intentional or did it just happen like that?
Well, I started out, I always just had it was my calling to be a psychologist. I really, as a very young child, said I wanted to be a psychologist. I didn't even know what it was. I didn't come from a family that were in the helping profession, and it was just something that aligned with me. And I always felt like it was a gift that was given to me, that I knew that I wanted to do that from an early age. And so I actually have worked in a multitude of settings. I've worked in psychiatric hospitals, I've worked in schools, I've done in-home counseling. And in the 1990s, I've been in mental health for 20 almost 28 years now. I'm very happy to be doing it, and we'll be here for a lot longer. And when I started out, my private practice work, I was actually working in a school and was happy working in a school. And people started asking me to see their kids. Other teachers, teachers would ask me to see their kids, or I also do psychoed testing. So lo and behold, I wound up getting a practice. And then very, very quickly, in a matter of a couple of years, I was actually so busy doing private practice work that I left my job. And I never had an intention of, having this wellness center that we have now. And we have this beautiful wellness center in, Ridgefield, Connecticut. And we are very, very heavy pediatrics. We're probably about 60% pediatrics. And when I say pediatrics, I mean 28 and under. Some adults are failure to launch and some aren't, but so I always include young adults in that sort of pediatric matrix. And we see people from all over the U.S. and we've developed a program called 360 Reboot for people to fly in and get intensives for 2 weeks. So when I started this practice, I didn't think it was going to be anybody but me. But what happened is we really specialize in research-based holistic therapies, and people would come from, far and wide to get, services. And so then I said, okay, let me bring on another therapist and then another therapist. And I had, it just started organically happening. It wasn't in my business plan. Now I have a very different idea about what I want. But I also had no intention of being an all-female practice. It is just what has happened. I always interview, all types of applicants. We have a really stringent interview process. I do 5 interviews. And the reason why we do 5 interviews is everybody who's here is incredibly authentic, and we have an amazing synergy. And so in order to grow that and protect that, we really do an extensive interview process. I love having women, Trina. I think, we are so heart-centered, not that males are loving and caring. We are just different. And how we approach healing. And we have so many moms who come in with kids. It just is, we can relate in a different level. All of us here are moms. And I'm not saying you have to have the same issue to treat, but it does make a difference when you're talking to parents. It gives you street cred, Trina, when you are a parent yourself. Mm-hmm. I can't really say there are challenges of being all women. I love being my employees call me their boss, and I'm like, I'm not your boss. I'm your cheerleader. I'm like your coach. I love mentoring, and my job is to support the therapists and the clinicians that work here so that they can blossom and be who they are and be the best at what they're doing. And I really spend a lot of time doing that, and I love that. Like yourself, I believe in lifting other women. And I didn't always get that when I was learning. And I knew that that was something that would be really important for that. When I actually did get my first employee, I thought, you have to lift. That's just a really important part in being a manager and working with women. And I also very much don't believe in micromanaging, which is why we spend a lot of time interviewing people. I need people to really be grounded, professional, got their stuff together, and motivated. I'll give you as much supervision as you want, but supervision is completely different from micromanaging, if that makes sense.
Oh, totally. I totally agree.
Yeah.
And it's interesting what you're saying. I'm sitting here listening to you, and just like a day or two ago, I was reading an article about how women make better leaders because of what you were saying, where we have different emotional intelligence as far as how we lead and how we listen and how we interact with other people that men don't.
Yes, yeah. There was a book, I actually heard her speak, and I wish I knew the name of it, how they talked about the best qualities of a boss are often characteristics that women have. And, unfortunately, in the world, women are not in the same leadership capabilities, in the same leadership positions. We're not always given the same opportunities. It's always really interesting what happens. Like, I'm the daughter of Italian immigrants, proud Italian immigrants, and my parents are, like many immigrants, came over and they are incredibly hardworking and did very well for themselves and own a very large company. And so I had the privilege of being around people that owned a company, but I also had the privilege of, never having a limit. And even though very much culturally there's an antiquated part of my culture, like, for example, there are 3 children in my family and there's a firstborn male. And so in an Italian culture, we joke it's the firstborn male, then Jesus Christ, and then the rest of the kids. Very much in my household, but yet my parents were like, you can do anything that you want. And so what a powerful message. So I didn't know that a woman couldn't do anything until you go out into the world and then people make dumb comments to you like, oh, I'm always, many women have come to my house and asked what my husband does. And I'm like, I'm Dr. Roseann. This is equally my house. Why does it have to be my husband's? And I thought, these are the kind of comments that hold us back, right? You know what I mean? And I'm lucky and very fortunate. I surround myself with a bunch of other lifters and have a great bunch of entrepreneurial friends that, where we help each other. And that's pretty amazing, to have that. And I think that's what women, you don't have to be an entrepreneur to have lifters in your life. You choose friends that support you and care about you and, that you could call at 12 o'clock at night when you have a flat tire. Not the one that's going to call you to complain, about who knows, but and only complains, So, I've been very purposeful in my life in creating both personal and, professionals with connections with people that, we are motivators for each other and care, and really offer support. And I think that's what really important for women to do that for themselves. We are, I think a woman works 2.5 times more in a day than a man if you are a mother. And I think that's very true. And I have an amazing husband. I think I literally have the world's best husband, and he's just a really super fun, great partner in life. And I know that's just not always the case for people. So I certainly, people make, people enter into relationships and people change together, and sometimes they don't. But it's really important to have people in your life, that, that you choose, right? That's a great part about your friendships, right? Is that you get to choose them. And, those should be things that are helpful for both of you, and bring rewards and richness and a lot of gratitude, into your life.
I mean, you are preaching to the choir right now, because
I love it.
I've decided that I'm going to use this platform, my podcast, to lift other women up, because so many times other women think that they have to compete with you.
Mm-hmm.
It's no competition. There's space for all of us. And I would like to see women lifting each other instead of trying to compete. And it's funny because men do it for other men.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't have to be friends. It's just, and they look at it as this is business. So if they know Jim has a certain skill and they have something that will benefit him, they do that. And then it's always reciprocated. So men go through life making these connections and collaborating in the ways that women don't, and we never have. And I just don't understand that.
We're not enculturated to do that, Trina.
You're right.
That's the basis of it, right? And, we can change that by creating that in our lives. And I think that's really, really important. And you're 100% right, Trina. I mean, this is what happens with women. Not to say that all men, are perfect either, but they do have a different relationship, and their level, yet they're trained to be competitive through sports. But in their relationships, they are different. They're not as verbal in their support, but they're more action oriented. And certainly, I think as a businesswoman, whatever your business is, or you're working in a corporate, environment, and you're trying to move ahead, it is hard to find the lifters to align with, because we're not enculturated in that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now you said you knew from a young age, when you were a little girl, that you wanted to be a psychologist. Now, where you are now, do you look back and just go, how does this happen? How do you feel? Do you have like a sense of pride knowing that, okay, I wanted to do this as a child, and this is how far I have come?
Oh, I mean, I have a lot of pride. I have a lot of gratitude. I feel incredibly blessed. I particularly, when a family comes to me, I just feel so privileged that I'm able to help people every day, and bring them hope, especially because we use holistic therapies. And I'm not saying, like, go take some Ritalin. That's not going to fix anything. You're not going to learn anything from that. We use a combination of psychotherapy with holistic therapies. But I mean, absolutely, this was, it was my path to be a psychologist. And I truly believe, it was from, a higher power. It was really kind of guided in that direction. It really just aligned with really who I am. And I have such an affinity, a love for it. And, but I do have a lot of pride. I still feel like there's more things I'd like to do. And one of my main missions is obviously to support people through our center. But my other big mission is to get people to know, other professionals, people who are suffering, that, there are actually incredibly research based therapies that are ridiculously effective. And, they're just, that message isn't being conveyed to people. And, that is really an important part of my work, that I want people to know that you can get healing, and it may not be, the script that was given to you. And, psychotherapy is really important. And, you got stuff. We all have stuff. Sometimes we learn stuff from behavioral patterns being set down to us. It doesn't have to define you, and you can learn and take a different way. And we all can take those steps for ourselves. We can take them for our children. Whatever it is that where you are in your life. And I'm always really amazed, Trina, so we have, people, moms with babies that come here, and we have people in their 80s. And I always am amazed, people coming in their 70s and 80s, right? And they want something different for their life. And I think, wow, that's really an empowered person who says, why should I continue to have anxiety or whatever their issue is, chronic pain or whatever it is, and to do something for themselves, I think is such an amazing gift, that not only that I get to help them with, but they take care of themselves. So I think that it's never too late. But yeah, I'm pretty excited and passionate about the work that I do. And I think the best part about what I do is I get to give people this knowledge, and there's just so many tools that are holistic that work for people that they just didn't know. It never crossed their mind. So that's probably one of the most exciting things that I get to do every day.
And I can hear the passion in your voice. So because like you said, these are not things that are publicized. So it's not the standard.
Yep.
So how would one come about finding you or someone like you to, like you said, when you see these older women saying, you know what, I want to change how I've been doing things to better, myself, take care of myself, my self-care. How do you go about finding somebody or even knowing, because you don't know what you don't know, right? So how do you do that?
Listen, I think today, there's back, when I started a million years ago, we did have the internet when I started, because I was making phone calls on the internet in 1996. I was always, I had a laptop, I was always doing different things. But we get two ways. One, you have a friend, you have somebody that shares information. And now, today, people are finding things by Googling. And they're looking online, and they're, seeing what people say and researching. The internet is not all bad. There is really good information out there. And so, those are pretty much the main ways that people find me. I have traditional, what I call allopathic physicians sending people my way. But the majority of people now are researching things online. So, they realize a lot of my clients have Lyme disease, infectious disease, and I just co-authored a book for the nonprofit Epidemic Answers with some board members on epidemic answers, and it's about a disease called pandas, and it's related to infectious disease where the brain, the body starts attacking itself and creates an inflammatory response, and you'll get a sudden onset of psychiatric issues. Even though it's known for children, it actually can happen at any age. So people are looking online and finding information and saying, oh, I was bitten by a tick, and about a month later, I developed anxiety. My doctor said it's not related, but, I got onto the Lyme disease Facebook group, and everybody's telling me it is, and boy, I sure seem to fit those symptoms. And they go and find somebody like myself or an MD who specializes in Lyme, and they are choosing their own health paths, which I think is pretty amazing. But that's where people find people in their towns. To find a neurofeedback provider, I'm board certified. You can get onto the BCIA, so the board certified website, and you can find a board certified person anywhere in the world. And, this is how people are finding information, and I think you have to be careful, and you have to read and, evaluate and before you make into a decision. But isn't that how you search for information now, Trina?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. What did we do before Google? We had a telephone book.
Exactly. Exactly. And then that was a crapshoot.
Absolutely it was, So it is a really interesting thing. people write about you online, and most of it's great, and then people are very opinionated about certain things, and it's become a force that I think is helpful in many ways to people. And I certainly read my Amazon reviews before I buy whatever, my next vacuum. So why not see, now college kids can get on to Rate My Professor, and they can find out information about a professor before they ever get in their class and see if it's the right learning style for them. I think that's pretty cool.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we
Yeah.
have tools now that, like you're saying, because I remember, in 1996, I was working my, second job out of college or whatever. And I think I had like AOL dial up.
Yeah.
with the black and white screen.
Oh my gosh. Right. Yeah. Oh yeah. Our generation has no idea. The new generation, they don't understand how hard it was. Yeah. Dial up just stopped working on you. Yeah. I mean, our computers had less memory than our phones do today.
I know.
Yeah. So interesting. But I love that, that the tide is turning, and that people really have become empowered advocates for themselves, and are saying, well, it doesn't make sense that you've tried medication, 8 times on me, and I'm sick all 8 times, and you keep telling me that I should have another medication. Enough, and I, Googled neurofeedback, and this is what I'm going to do, which is a very common thing for people to come in here, either from themselves or from their child. Because every medication has some level of toxicity. So, most people have a side effect, and they just determine, is the side effect less than the benefit, or is it greater? What choice do I make? And that's not to say that certain people, who have true biochemical imbalances for psychiatric meds, like, bipolar or schizophrenia, you need meds. And you should be grateful when they work. But, a little kid who's 3.5 years old should not be popped on ADD meds. That's just silly. That's just what we've done culturally to children. It's not done in other places. The research shows us, it's not done in places like France, Europe in general, don't view children's behavior in the same way.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Very interesting. Yeah, I don't understand it either. I'm not a fan of medication. I mean, if you need it, like you said, if you have diabetes or something like that.
Oh no, and I mean psychiatric meds.
Oh yeah, no, I know exactly what you're saying, but it's amazing. Like you said, they're so willing to just put you on medication, and a lot of times you're walking around like a zombie, and you don't know why, and maybe it was something that could have been done, like you said, holistically, instead of
absolutely
doping yourself up.
I mean, how many women are in perimenopause and they don't even know it, and they have, like an onset of anxiety, and what does the doctor do? Give them an anti-anxiety medication. They gain 20 or 30 pounds. Oh yeah, they're feeling great, right? No, I'm being sarcastic. And really the underlying issue is a hormone imbalance, because you're in perimenopause, and there's, that impacts everybody differently.
Mm-hmm.
Some people can't sleep. Some people are anxious. Some people have panic attacks. Some people have nothing, so why are we going to give them, whatever, Prozac or Xanax or whatever it is. It's not really the right, that's not the root cause, a chemical imbalance. We should address the root cause. The root cause is a hormone imbalance. And people can feel a lot healthier quicker without gaining weight or any negative side effects. And, people should, do what they can. They should strive for wellness. And there's a lot they can do, including, sleeping properly and trying to manage stress the best they can in this stressful world. And certainly try to eat better. Because nutrition is really important for brain health.
Now, since we're talking about the self-care aspect, and we all can do better with self-care, the sleeping now, how many hours should a person get to have a really good functioning, body and brain and things like that?
Well, I know that for an adult, that an adult should, the bare minimum is, I believe, 5.75 hours is the bare minimum, and you're not even having great cognitive functioning. But really, 7 hours or more is what's recommended for an adult for sleep. I know that's not always feasible for adults. I think what's happening is people are having poor quality of sleep. So even if they're getting 7 hours or 8 hours, they are having very high stress levels. Their cortisol shooting up maybe in the middle of the night, and so they're waking up. Or, you're checking on a baby as a woman, or who knows what happens. So people are not getting deep enough for quality sleep. And so there's a real repercussion in that because, your brain can't work properly if you're not sleeping. They do all those great, studies, and you can see it on TV, where you look at somebody who drank alcohol operating a car, who's sleep deprived, and they behave in the same manner when operating a vehicle. And I think any woman who, the first 2 weeks after you have a baby, if you're not a bad sleeper, remembers that is such a tough time. That's what happens to a lot of people. People come into me all the time and they just don't sleep. It's pretty amazing.
Yes.
You got to carve what you can out in that time and make it a priority for yourself.
Yeah. I find that with myself, when I don't get enough sleep, I don't feel at my best, physically or mentally. And what you're saying just makes so much sense to me because, yeah, you need it.
You need it. Absolutely. And then it's so linked, Trina, to, how are you managing stress in your life? Are you working 2 jobs? Maybe your kid's struggling at school, maybe you're in a bad marriage, whatever it is that you're stressed, or you have a terrible boss, and, again, causing those stress levels to go up and up and up. And, you can't live in a high stress all the time. You can visit it, but after a while, your body starts to shut down. You'll actually sleep less. And, the other things that impact, how you sleep is, what you eat, exercise. I mean, those areas are the most important, sort of whatever issue you're dealing with, or just for a healthy brain and body, you want to try to take care of those things on a daily basis. And I'm really into eating very healthy, and that's not easy in America. Mm-hmm. But I do think in the last few years, there's so many more healthy food choices available. We even have some sort of quick serve restaurants that eat, much healthier, like Panera, Chipotle. And I mention them only because they use better quality meats. And, so it is easier to grab, I know you must. Do you have Trader Joe's in Houston, Trina?
We have a couple, but I'm very familiar with them. I love them.
Well, they're a low cost, better quality food market. They have a lot of organic choices, and they have great prices, So I always say to people, you can go to Trader Joe's, you can get pre-made meals, you can get all kinds of things, and it's convenience with quality of food. But the research shows us that, when you eat an anti-inflammatory diet with less grains, no sugar, higher fat intake, it really is a great combatant for things like anxiety and depression, ADHD. And so, that's not a message that's conveyed to people either. It's harder for them. It's harder for Americans to change their diet than it is their religion. It's really, really, I live in an area of the country where people are very conscientious and focused on their food. So it's pretty easy for me to talk to people about food and making tweaks, like, okay, you like pizza? Okay, well, let's find a better version of the pizza. Let's put more protein in there, let's do some, let's add a fruit smoothie. Everybody should be having a smoothie every day just to get more fruits and veggies in bodies so that their brains can work better. Those are the kind of things that are helpful tweaks, right? Little steps for
Wow.
self-care.
Now I have a question. I'm
Sure.
just curious, since you studied the brain and everything. Is there things that we can do to keep our brain healthy and functioning? So like I've been told, like, oh, doing a crossword puzzle or something like that. Is that true? And especially now where I think we're seeing like a lot of people coming, with Alzheimer's, being diagnosed with that. Is there anything that we can do to keep that brain just working and active, beyond what we do on a daily basis?
Yeah, that's a great question. So yes, doing things like crossword puzzles does help with keeping your brain working at a higher level. There's a principle called use it or lose it. So if you do not remain active, just like a muscle, right? You stop working out. What happens to your muscles? They atrophy. It makes it harder to go up the stairs. You start working out more, your muscle builds. It's the same thing with the brain. So the more active you stay, the more cognitively you're able to process better and, keep your mood regulate and engage and, stave off, hopefully, cognitive decline. So I think that's really, really important. And also to stay social, because sometimes people, particularly if somebody's elderly and they retire, the first 6 months after retiring, you have a very dramatic likelihood of a heart attack, because people disengage, they lose social connections, and it's really, really important to not only cognitively to stay engaged, but to be social and active with people. And you will see, why do we have an increase in Alzheimer's? Well, people are living a lot longer. So we're going to see more of those aging problems because, I know in one side of my family, one side of my husband's family, people live until they're well into their 90s. And, a generation ago, that just wasn't happening as much. Now it's pretty common, I think of the 70s, somebody being in their 70s is pretty young now. I don't know about you. But, somebody who's 75 doesn't seem that old to me anymore.
No, they're not. And it's funny you say that, because I think about that now. And there was a time where I was going, oh, 50. Oh my God, that's so old. And I'm thinking, I'm almost 50.
Yeah. Right. Right.
So 70 is not old at all. And you're right. We're seeing people who are living longer, because, I remember being a teenager and somebody dying at 60 was like, oh, they were old. But now I see somebody dying at 60 and I'm going, oh my God, they're young.
They're so young, my mother-in-law, they have a lot of longevity on her side, and she is like, we call her action Grammy, party Grammy. She skis. She rides her bike 30 to 50 miles. She boogie boards. She does kayaks all over the place. She just went on like a 10-day sailing trip where they ran their own boat. This is what's happening. She's a whole group of friends that are in her age range, and they're really keep being very physical and doing fun things, eating really, really healthy. And, you can just see cognitively, not only physically is she pretty amazing, but, cognitively, her and her group of friends, I mean, there is no slowed aging at all. And it's exciting. We do see people choosing to work later, and they don't have to work. And some people do. But more people are just staying active, whether it's part-time work, just to, keep a routine and be there. And not everybody loves to, ride their bike 50 miles. She's great to take on vacation because you can sit and lay on your beach chair, and Action Grammy will take your kids all over the place. So yeah, but exciting times, when people, are living longer. And certainly, yes, there's some people who say they smoke every day and do all that and they're living till they're 112. That's just not the norm, so people who live better tend to take better care of themselves.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned the being physically active and being cognitively strong, because that's what I was thinking. I knew there had to be a link between people who actually get out and do things and stay active. That actually helps their brain as well as their body.
Oh,
Instead
of
of
course.
just sitting home, looking at the four walls, not getting out socializing with other people.
Just watching TV is not cognitively stimulating,
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't love to get together with their girlfriends? It's one of my favorite things to do. And so why should it stop when you're 75?
Right.
And it shouldn't. You should have more time for fun things.
And exactly. And
Yeah.
And I'm glad you're bringing this up, because I think us as women, I don't think we deserve that.
Yeah.
We have families, we have children, we're working, we're trying to do all that. And to sit back and just say, you know what, I'm going to take this time for me and I'm going to be with my girlfriends. I think a lot of times that makes us feel guilty that we want to do that.
Well, we're our own worst enemies. We really have this false belief that we can be super women, and society has told us we can do everything. And I'm not saying that some of us can't, but we make it like somehow think it's easy, and it's really, really, really hard. And to manage and juggle all those things, even when you have kids that are pretty neurotypical. And I say neurotypical because in my world, almost everybody I see has a kid with, ADHD or a learning challenge, and, something that requires extra support as a mother. But it is really, really important to have self-care. And self-care has to be daily. And that's the part nobody's telling you, because as a mom, we're working 2.5 times harder than our partner, even if they're awesome. And because we believe we're super women. And you have to do something for yourself every day, even if it's 10 minutes. You need your nervous system to align, relax. It could be prayer, it could be meditation, it could be journaling, it can be writing, it can be yoga, but you need to do things that get your nervous system, your parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system to align, which gets your central nervous system to calm and regulate. But also to do fun things, right? So, at least once a month I go for a massage. 2019, I'm like, I've got to see my girls more, right? Spend more time with them and really putting dates on the calendar. And you shouldn't feel guilty about that, because when we're happier as women, as human beings, we're better mothers, wives, daughters, we're better because we're happier. And that's why self-care is so important.
I'm glad you said that that's something that needs to be done daily.
Daily. Nobody says that.
No.
You need to, as little as 10 minutes a day. Like, it doesn't have to be every day of a massage. It'd be nice.
Right.
I don't got time for that, I got stuff to do. But 10 minutes, you've got to carve it out, And some people make time. I have a mom, she gets up, she gets up at 3:45 and she works out. Now, I think that's criminal. But
well, I do too. So
okay, you get up at 3:45 to work out?
I do. I do like a 15-minute workout, and then I'm getting ready for work. So I get up early.
You get up early, but
yes.
And what time do you go to bed, Trina?
I'm not going to tell you because I'm not getting enough sleep.
Yeah, you're not getting enough sleep, but you've got to try to compensate for that in some way,
right?
Because that's hard.
It is. It truly is.
Yeah, it is. So, and there are some people outside of those sleep norms that can do well with less sleep. And again, I think it has to do with the quality of your sleep. Because if I got 5 hours of awesome sleep, I feel pretty fantastic versus 7 hours of waking up 7 times.
Mm-hmm.
So, Everyone's, bio individual,
Right.
you know?
Wow. This has been really a great conversation just about the self-care and the brain. It's just things that you don't hear normally.
At our house, we do.
Well, I'm pretty sure, you do.
No, thank you, because it's important to talk about that. I always try to connect everything to the brain because, if you talk about self-care as benefiting the brain, you're like, darn, I should do that. Yeah, you should. But the brain and the nervous system needs some calming every day. We're constantly in a high stress state, and it's just not healthy, right? And so we pay the price. We have problems, losing weight because we're in a high stress state, or you're not sleeping, or you're making bad food choices, or you're cranky. These are things that if you take a little self-care, it really can help turn the dial on that. It might not totally correct it, but you can get some wiggle room.
And when you say self-care, most people don't think about brain. They think about the physical, like you said, getting a massage, doing things like that. But you don't think about, okay, my brain needs to be active and needs to, have some care taken with it. And honestly, until today, I didn't think of that either.
Well, I'm glad that this was enlightening. Yeah, it needs some calming. Yeah, we do think of physical, right? So like people like yourself, you make time to exercise, and that might be, really calming for you. If we're doing high level cardio, that's not calming. You should do cardio, at least 2 to 3 times a week. But we also just need some downtime to relaxing, because also, the constant access to the smartphone causes a lot of disruption in the nervous system. There's so much research to say if it's near your bed, it disrupts your sleep just because your brain thinks that it's there and knows that it's there and thinks it might ring, so you don't sleep as deeply.
Well, that's, I can go on.
Yeah. Self-care.
Asking you questions about this because I'm guilty of needing more self-care. What I want to do now, I want to go into the 10 questions that I ask every guest.
Sure.
And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get started with that. Okay. Who or what motivates you?
Who or what? Well, that's an easy question. All these awesome mothers that come into my life who are scared and frightened and desperate and looking for help. They motivate me because I'm one of them. And they motivate me to constantly learn and find ways to help others.
Okay. What demotivates you?
Negative people. Negative people are energy suckers. Mm-hmm. And I just make a real purposeful point to not have negative people in my life.
Okay. When was a time that something was said or done to hurt you, but it worked out for your good?
Oh, that's a great question. I think just in general, when you've been ill prepared for change, and something happens that seems like it upsets you, and because you weren't ready for it, like somebody left your life. Somebody had left my life this past year, and it had really hurt me. But you know what? It moved me in a different direction, and that was a good thing.
Okay, what is your fear?
What is my fear? Oh, that's a really personal one that's very easy that I'm open to talk about. My older son has chronic Lyme and PANS, which is part of why I've been involved in this community, but I've always been involved. And I think my fear is that we won't find a diagnosis. We won't find a cure.
Okay. Is there a time when you wish you had done something that you didn't?
I am not really a regretful person. And I know that I live my life where I'm very conscientious and thoughtful about how I impact others. And I can't say that I have really any deep regrets in life. And I do believe that, again, even if you're ill prepared for change in life, there's always a benefit that happens.
Okay, well, the next question was, is there a time that you wish you had not done something? So is that the same answer?
Had not done something. Oh, that's it. No, I do have an answer. Well, I wish I had done more self-care for myself at a younger age. I'm pretty good at it now. But I think, when you're a mom, and you're a mom of young kids in particular, you get away from taking care of yourself. And I just wish that I had purposely, as I was getting really busy and growing myself as a professional, that I put in more time for self-care.
Okay. What is your definition of success?
What's your definition of success? I think just, having purposeful intent for something and achieving your goal, whatever that goal is, and having, a lot of pride about it.
Okay. How do you recharge?
How do I recharge? Oh, I love to do fun things. So we travel a lot. And, and I love to go to concerts. I just really try to do something fun every day. And, my youngest is still pretty young, 8. And I think when you have a young child, what's great about them is they force you to connect and really do fun things. Plus, we were already really fun anyway, my husband and I. We're going to be like 75 and still in the front row of a concert. I'm just going to tell you, we're going to be those people. But just really trying to enjoy and live in the moment.
Great. What are you awesome at?
I'm awesome at what I do. I'm an awesome cook outside of, being a psychologist. I have a lot of pride. I know I'm really good at what I do. I'm ridiculously passionate about it. But I love cooking, and I'm really good at it. If you've had the privilege to be at one of my parties, which are many, I love to cook.
Okay. What legacy do you want to leave?
Oh, that's easy. I want both professionals and, just people who are, suffering in some way to have more awareness and better access to research-based holistic therapies.
Okay.
Yep.
Hey, those are great answers. It's, you don't have any you don't have any regrets. That's really good.
Yeah. You can't live a life of regret. You know what I mean? And I really am a kind person. That's not to say that I haven't hurt anybody unintentionally. But I'm not impulsive. I think about what I do, and, I can't really say that I had any steps of regret.
Okay. So what is one motivational takeaway that you want to leave with the listeners?
Motivational takeaway. I would say that one of the most surprising motivators is meditation. And we know that through research that 40 days of meditation actually changes your brain. And if you they have great apps. Insight Timer is a free app that you can use, and you can use progressive meditation, where progressive relaxation, where it talks you through breathing, or muscle relaxation. You don't have to just have it be quiet. That's hard to do. It's hard for me to do. And having that time really can not only calm your brain, but give you an opportunity to balance and ground yourself. And when you balance and ground yourself, you'll be shocked at how energy changes around you and how many positive things happen to you. And if you pair that with daily positive visualizations about what your own goals are, whether that's business or personal, whatever it is, you'll be shocked at how much success. If you talk to any incredibly successful person, they will tell you that they visualize every day. And I just have found personally that the combination of meditation and visualization is incredibly powerful.
Okay. Well, we're coming to the end. So, Roseann, tell the listeners how they can connect with you.
Yeah, the best way to connect with me is through my website. And that's drroseann.com, www.drroseann.com, or Facebook. And you can just find me, just put in Dr. Roseann Capanna-Hodge. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. Instagram is fun. And Pinterest, but I would say Facebook. I try to really put good information out about the brain, parenting, just different holistic therapies, so people can get, good information there too.
Well, thank you for being on the show. And I'm looking at, care for my brain in a whole different way.
Oh, I'm glad.
Very enlightening.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you. If you're looking for a speaker for your live event or conference, go to my website and read my bio and contact me at bit.ly/booktrina. I hope you have a great week. Until then, remember, if you change your mindset, you'll change your life. Keep striving. Success is a journey, not a destination. You can listen to Trina Talk anytime and anywhere. It's available on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, Spotify, and all other places that you can listen to podcasts. If you like the podcast, please don't forget to go to iTunes to subscribe, rate, review, and share. If you have questions for me or need inspiration on how to go to the next level, tweet me directly at Trina L. Martin.